How's it going, everybody? Mike with Cleveland Cutting Board and Furniture Company. The time has finally come. I've been saying for years I'm going to do a wood shop tour, and that time is now. That's right. I've been saying for years. You've been asking for just as long about a shop tour. I've been saying I'm going to get the shop spotless and I'm going to do that shop tour, and the reality is that's never going to happen. So since I do have a big project planned with redoing the floor, I thought I'd do kind of before and after, because I think after I move all this stuff over, if you don't follow my other videos, you know my floor is in really bad shape in here. This building wasn't intended to be used as a wood shop. It's supposed to be for like a light use garden storage type building. The space itself is 16 by 24, so however many square feet that is, I'll put it over here somewhere. It's not a lot of square feet. People usually are amazed that they come looking to pick up a product. They're looking for Cleveland Cutting Board, and all you can do is find this little building. They always are kind of shocked at how much I can do in here, as well as I am. So 16 by 24, uninsulated. I use kerosene heat in here. It's the safest way I've found. When you first walk in the door, sometimes I'm gonna take you around kind of the workflow of the shop. So as soon as you walk in the door, right here is a bookshelf that's probably not gonna stay here. This has catch-all stuff on it. It's got some light tools on here. It has, I don't know, spray paint. It has miscellaneous hand tools in here, some gloves. It's just kind of a catch-all thing. This is one of those areas that just things, I'll clean it off and it turns out like filling up with crap the next day. So, and then on either side of it, along the whole shop perimeter, up against the walls, you're gonna find offcuts. I've been really good about being a wood hoarder. I'm not saving every little piece, but I'm getting better. So I do have some longer, more important stuff. You know, there's different offcuts from other projects that are just too much. For example, that piece right here, this was a sign. I glued up a cedar sign for a customer, and at the last second they decided they wanted a cutting board to give to the person as a gift, so I just set it aside. So it was a really good customer, so it wasn't a big deal. So moving in from there, next to the cabinet is my 20-inch helical head jet planer. It's a thickness planer. What the idea of this tool here is the bed goes up and down, and so you can control the thickness of the board. A lot of people confuse this for they think, oh, I'm gonna run through the planer and flatten the board out. I thought the same thing at first. So if you have a board that's got a twist in it and you run through this machine, it's going to maintain that twist, just get thinner. So you have to flatten the board out before you put it on here. Now there are sleds that you can make to help adjust that. I have a thickness planer sled that I use to help. You put the crooked board on there, you shim it up. It's a pain in the butt, but you can do it. Right now on here, it's got some cutting board orders I'm working on. This is the end table project I'm working on, and some of the countertop project I'm working on. This is a great place. It's a good and a bad place for storage, because I do have such small shop. I have to kind of put things, I move things around a lot. So later today, I'm working on the countertop, and later this week, I'm working on the end table. So I'm kind of bouncing back and forth, but great tool. Like I said, 20-inch helical head. The downside, this tool is very powerful. The downside is it needs new blades about every 18 months, and the blades are $1,000. So this expensive. You got to take the whole top of the machine off. There's, I think, 90 of them, 90 individual little carbide tools, and you have to go through and turn each one off. I've got 2 broken screws I got to dig out. It's a pain in the ass to do, but it's the workhorse in the shop. There's smaller ones. I had the 12-inch DeWalt for years, works great, but as I got bigger into bigger things, I needed a more beefier machine. If you're gonna spend the money on a machine, definitely spend a little bit extra and get the helical head. So yeah, a 20-inch helical head jet planer, awesome tool to have. Up above the helical head planer is another storage wall. This is another cleat wall. It's a great idea, even for like a garage, or even like I've seen people use this in their laundry rooms for organizing. Look up cleat wall. There's a lot of videos on it. But so this is a cleat wall that I'm going to redo eventually. But I got a little paint. This was designed to hold spray paint cans. I've outgrown it, so I need to redo that. Down below here, I have there's 3 primary router bits I use, 3 different radiuses. An 1/8 inch, 1/4 inch, and a 1/2 inch radius router bit, and I was always going back and forth. So I kind of did the math on how much. Not that it takes a lot of time, but the time it takes to do that, it was worth the money to spend and buy 3 routers. So these are 3 dedicated routers. So if I'm doing an 1/8 inch, 1/4 inch, or 1/2 inch router, round over bit, boom, it's right there. Grab it, put it back. I need to build a bigger box for it because these tend to tip out. I just use scrap wood to make that. Next to it, I've got my dado stack set and different saw blades, and I rotate them in and out. So once I get one dull, I call my buddy Bill that comes picks them up from Cleveland Tool. He takes them to his shop, sharpens them. I have an account over there, great company, and he brings them back to me. Below that, I have, those are templates. So when I have a board that I want to make a bowl out of, I have templates going down from 4 up to 18-inch diameter, so I can lay the template right on there, chase it out, then take it over to the bandsaw. Ooh, my voice cracked. Maybe I'm hitting puberty again. Or is it the first time? I don't know. I take it over the bandsaw, cut the circle out. So just one of those things. I use scrap wood laying around from a job site, and then more jigs for the table saw and a mallet I've made. So check out, yeah, if you're looking for a way to do some creative storage in your garage or like in a laundry room, a cleat wall is a good way to go. So next to the planer, I have my Festool chop saw miter station. I'm a big Festool guy. It's sitting on a machine, or the bed it's sitting on right now is actually going to be collapsed and taken away. Eventually, I want to build a full permanent station with drawers and everything. But for now, this is the best I can do. But yeah, I'm a huge Festool guy. I love their tools, except this tool. It's very accurate, but it's very underpowered. So if I could do it again, I would not buy the Festool chop saw. I would buy one that's got more power, and I can always make it more accurate, but I can't make this have more power. It's nice because it fits tight against the wall. You don't need a big deep space behind it, but it's super accurate, which is what I bought it for. I just wish it had a little more power. It's actually can swivel different angles. It can swivel different angles this way and different angles this way. So I use it all the time. On the hardwood, you got to go back and forth a couple times. So it takes a little bit longer than if the tool had more power. Super accurate. The blades are phenomenal. The Festool blades are really, really well. They're German engineered. The whole Festool brand is German engineered. So great tool. And then down below here is all the offcuts. So what I do basically, I cut any piece of wood I cut off that's extra, I throw it down there, and then it fills the firewood bin, and then gets used. A lot of my friends come over and take firewood, or we have fires a lot. Or if it gets too big, I have a utility fire pit in the back that we use. But yeah, Festool miter saw, great tool as far as accuracy goes, just underpowered. The next thing along the wall, as I work my way around, is the Harvey G700 dust collector. I definitely do not recommend this thing. I went on YouTube and did a lot of research like I usually do before I buy a tool. This one had really good reviews. It's good for a small lobbyist shop, not a professional woodworking shop. It's quiet. It has decent suction. It's got a real small bend in it, so you got to change it a lot. And it's very finicky. Like there's a little alarm that's supposed to go off when it's full. It works 25% of the time. It's got 2 ports, so you can plug up 2 machines, but it's not that powerful. So I'll do a separate little lap around the dust collection. But yeah, so this tube goes up, hooks into a system that goes around the whole building. But yeah, I've had to take this thing apart and clean it because the alarm doesn't go off and you don't realize it. So it's just packing up into the canisters and the filters. You got to take the whole thing apart. It wasn't designed to come apart. So yeah, this was probably my biggest disappointment in machines. I should have got a tradition. I liked it because it was low profile, but all these great woodworkers I follow all spoke heavily of it. So I'm assuming they probably got one for free to talk about it. You gotta be careful what you watch, what you hear on YouTube about stuff. So yeah, this is a dust collector. You gotta have a dust collector. Spend the money on a good dust collection system. Dust is inevitable, but it really makes a big difference, especially with air quality. That's why one reason I do like about this is it does have a really good air filtration system. So it does keep the air as clean as possible. It's just it's just a pain in the ass to maintain. So not a terrible machine, but there's a bigger one I should have bought, but it was just crazy expensive. For the same money, I could have got a lot better machine. So once I get my future shop, this will be dedicated to like smaller machines, and I'll get a nice big one for the bigger, like the table saw and the planer. The planer, if I run through a handful of boards on the planer, this thing fills up. It's just a pain in the ass. So not a terrible tool, just not, on a 1 to 10, I give it a 3. Going along the shop, next dust collector is my Laguna 6-inch by 89-inch edge sander. So basically this is just a belt that goes around and it goes up and down. So this is a tool. I had the rigid spindle sander / belt sander combo, had that for years. That's a great tool if you're looking to get into woodworking. I highly recommend it. Or if you need to buy a tool for someone as a gift, that's a great tool every shop should have. It's perfect for the home woodworker. But as I got into making bigger things, I can put, a 2-foot piece on here. So now the big cutting boards, I can put on there and it sands it perfectly. It's great for rounding off corners, things like that. It's also great for taking your good chunk of your thumb off. But Great tool. I call it one of my luxury tools. You don't need it, but you can sand it by hand. But this thing, what you would take you 5 minutes to do by hand, you can do in seconds with this. So great tool. And then a second ago, we were talking about the dust collector. If you notice, there's a hose right here, and every tool's got a blasket. So when I'm using this tool, I basically open this up, close the other, and it sucks the dust out of here. So instead of running hoses everywhere, there's just white pipe that goes all the way around to every single tool. So Laguna 6x89 edge sander. This belt's adjustable. People ask me, why is it at an angle? If I had it flat, you only use this much belt. We turn it at an angle. As it goes up and down, you're using more of the belt. So the belt will help wear evenly, and it helps preventing wearing out one section of the belt. So great tool. I would recommend. Laguna brand tools are usually pretty nice. The tools are good, and their customer support's good. So whenever I had a problem, which has really been the CNC machine a couple times, but they've always been really good. So Laguna's a really good brand tool. There's definitely better stuff out there, but anything better than Laguna is going to be crazy more expensive. So Laguna 6x89 edge sander. Any big shop needs one. Up above the edge sander is some more storage. In the middle here, I have cutting board offcuts. This is all the pieces. When I make cutting boards, I make them oversized and I cut them down. And then I save all the trim. So all the pieces I cut off, I save. Then these pieces in turn will go into making more cutting boards. So we have about a 90 to 95% usage rate of all the boards. And I always tell people, when you have a $20 bill and you buy something for 15 bucks, you don't throw away that $5. You still use it as much as you can. Same thing goes with lumbers. If you spend $100 on a board, you want to use all the individual pieces. So that's why I save as much as I can. Next to that over here is my, is the router, kind of couple extra routers. I have my big Makita, that's a 3 horsepower router. And then I have my Shaper Origin CNC router. Super expensive tool, big investment. I think all together it's over $3,000 for that tool with all the accessories, but it paid for itself, I'd say, within the first year as the time it saved me. So Shaper Origins are great tools if you have the money. If you're thinking about getting woodworking, I wouldn't maybe run out and buy one right away, but it's something that any serious woodworker I could recommend too. And then over here next to that, more offcuts. And then I have my high pressure, low volume, high pressure sprayer tucked in there. That works great. I use that when I do big projects. I'm probably gonna use that to spray the countertop project. I use it to spray my deck. It's a lot of clean. There's a kind of a chore to clean it, take it all apart and clean it when I use it. So I don't use it unless I have a big project. But I did a lot of research and put off buying one for years. I'm glad I finally bought one. As we work our way along the wall, we have more storage. This back here is more of your longboards, maybe wood that's not big enough to be for a cutting board, was too big to throw away. So I find myself, when I get a lot of odd projects, people call me and I'll dig through here and see what I got. A lot of like mahogany and teak and high-end woods, I just can't bring myself to throw in the fire scrap pile. But yeah, so more lumber storage here. My friend Megan came out to work a couple weekends ago and she did a great job organizing it for me. Cliffy, when he works, is always nice and about putting things back. So that's another storage area is lumber. As well as up here, this actually is all in-grain offcuts from in-grain cutting boards. We'll take those. That's how we make that's how I primarily make the chaotic style cutting boards. Next to that is Purple Heart, Zapili, and the higher end exotic woods that I save every piece of those. So those are up there. Then right below it, right here, is this is also a Laguna. This is a 19-inch wide belt drum sander. So basically what happens is this belt feeds wood in, and inside here is another belt that goes the other way, and it's a nice flattening tool. This is another tool that's really good. The belt tends to walk back and forth, so I have to constantly adjust it right now. I think I have a bad bearing on it. I'm waiting to hear back on how much that costs to replace the bearing. This is my second one. The first one I used, it was a hobbyist model, and stuff like that doesn't always last in a what I call a professional wood shop. So it burned out, so I'm upgrading to this one. I really want to get one of the big ones. When I get my future dream shop, I'll have the big, like 36-inch wide one for doing full-size panels. But another time saver. Do you need one of these? Definitely not. Do you want one of these? Yes. When you're doing cutting board orders at 100 a piece, this thing here will save you time. You get a nice assembly line going, and this is an awesome tool. I definitely recommend getting at least, this is the 19-inch wide one, and I think they make them, 12. They make shorter ones, but another great tool, not too crazy expensive, but definitely worth, the drum sanders are definitely worth it. Moving right along the wall, next to that is my bandsaw. This is a Rikon 11-inch, which means it can go up to 11 inches here, so I can actually technically saw a board that's 11 inches wide. This is a decent, cool. Rikon is, they're the Woodcraft brand. Woodcraft's a woodworking store. It's not bad, I just outgrown it. So this one's gonna be for sale. I'm gonna put a new blade on it and tune it up and get it for sale. And then I'm gonna buy, you know, a Powermatic, I think is what I'm looking at, but I need more horsepower. This is great. You can put different size blades on it. It's good for a beginner or medium level woodworker. But Rikon 11-inch bandsaw, this goes up and down like this, so you can cut through a nice thick piece of wood. I just need more power, so this will be for sale soon. And above that, this is usually up here. I have inventory, so I've got, you kind of see right there, I've got some wine bottle holders. I got some grill scrapers. Usually I have a bunch of other products, charcuterie boards, cocktail smokers, but this is where I keep my inventory. The wood below it is cedar. I don't use a lot of cedar, so it's a pain in the ass when I do need it because I have to try and get everything off there, but once again, space. But yeah, so this is like the inventory stuff as far as the small items I sell. The next item in the lineup is my Ryobi drill press. This is a benchtop model. I made a base for it. This thing, I thought for sure it was gonna burn. I bought it 15 plus years ago, and maybe, yeah, over 15 years ago, I bought this drill press thing. I need something cheap because all I could afford at the time. And this thing has worked phenomenally. I've got thousands of holes I've drilled with this thing without a problem. The trick with it's not the most powerful drill press, but the trick is to have sharp bits. With sharp bits, it's fine. You know, and I drill a lot of hard maple, oaks, and things like that. So works really good. I made a special base for it, something I can replace so if I drill into it. It's on a 2x4 base with plastic drawers, a whole different types of drill bits, but it works fine. It's something I'll need to replace someday, but it's just nothing that's, you know, it works fine. So it doesn't take up a lot of space. So once again, Dream Shop, I'm sure I'll upgrade to the big Powermatic, or maybe the Laguna makes a good one. So, but Ryobi drill press, I think I paid $100 for it, 15 plus. I bought the Mentor, Ohio, Home Depot, so that was at least 15 years ago, right around there. So works great. Ryobi brand is a good brand for your weekend warrior or drill presses. Moving along, next thing we have is my clamp wall. Any woodworker will tell you, you can't have too many clamps. You need to have as many clamps as you have storage for, and this is all I have storage for. Between the big heavy duty 3/4 inch clamps, these are great for gluing up your larger tabletops. The 1/2 inch pipe clamps, pipe clamps are my preferred clamp. These are great. This is all my cutting board clamps. So this is what I use. They're just gas pipe. Every now and then you gotta take them, scrape off the glue, have a little wire wheel, and they're great, good to go. Spend the money. I got cheap and I bought some of the Harbor Freights. I bought some of the cheap Amazons online, and they just don't last. Spend a little bit more money and buy the good clamping. So you can buy the clamps, the actual pieces separate, tops and bottoms, and you buy the pipes at Home Depot. They work great. The nice thing is you can get 2 or 3 sets of these, but then you can buy different length pipes. So you can use, if you need a longer table, you can buy a longer pipe. So essentially you can only have a couple of tops and bottoms, but if you need something smaller to clamp up, you don't want to have a huge piece of pipe sticking out. So you can have, with a little bit of investment, you can have multiple piping options. And then I have the squeeze clamps. These are almost like a second pair of hands because you can put something in there as you're holding it and you can kind of clamp it together, pull tight. I've had these here for years. The Irwin brand, once again, the old saying, buy nice or buy twice, is definitely true when it comes to clamps. I have the F-style clamps. They're okay. I'm not a big fan of them. And then this miscellaneous I bought a whole bunch of these at a flea market or a garage sale a few years ago. I don't use them a lot, but when I do need them, they're good to have around. So they're good for clamping up smaller things. The little clamps here, I think someone bought me as a gift. These work great for, like I said, if you're doing small stuff like veneers, this is a great clamp to have. Usually, I mean, if you go to 5 garage sales in the summer, you're going to find at least one of them has some clamps for sale. So moving right along, next as we go through, we have I call the lathe station. So I have my 2 sharpening stations. I have the Rikon 8-inch slow speed grinder. Then I have the Tormek whetstone grinder. 99% of the time I use, when it comes to wood turning, I'm using the Rikon slow speed turner. I've got the diamond wheel on one side and old stone wheel on the other side. They're set up. I have all the jigs for sharpening different things, different tools. All the different lathe tools have different angles got to be set up, so you have to have special jigs for all that stuff. For different cutting techniques, the angles on the lathe tools are all different. So the SBL something you can change around. Then on the Tormek, that's more for sharpening chisels. I do have an attachment for sharpening lathe tools, but it's a little bit, not as fast. It gets them sharper than this, but the time you spend, I just use a Rikon. And then down below it, I just have a Cobalt toolbox I picked up. I put a wood top on it. Those are both permanently mounted down. Those clamps are mounted, or the sharpening system is mounted down. Inside there, I've got lathe tools, and mostly lathe tools, chisels, things that need sharpened or have to deal with sharpening, or the lathe go right there. And then right next to it is my Laguna 18 by 36, I think it is. Laguna lathe. This was my upgrade. Yeah, it's 18 by 36, it says so right there. Which means I could do an 18-inch bowl. It means from the center of the chuck down to here is 9 inches. So technically you can do 18, well you can't because it'd be hitting the bed. And I could do something that's 36 inches long. If I could do it again, I would have bought the shorter bed, because primarily I don't turn things more than a foot long. So if I could do it again, I would have bought the shorter bed, and then I would have saved up some space. I don't need all the bed. Down below here, this is all different things I'm working on. This is not working on, but offcuts, you know, different bowl blanks. These are all bowls, blanks that can be turned. I have a Buckeye bowl here that I started. I'll get back to. I was working on this the other night, and my stomach and my back told me I was done working for the day. So it's a nice little Buckeye dish. I love doing this kind of stuff. There's no money in wood turning. You'll invest a shit ton of money. This lathe was $2,800, I believe. I've got another $2,000 in wood turning tools. When you buy wood turning tools, you need a chuck. So I've got chucks for different sizes. This is what holds onto the bowl. You need a couple of these. These are a couple $100 a piece. You need all the different face plates for holding on the bowl. These cost a couple bucks. You need the live centers, the different things, the drive centers that turn the bowl, that grip the bowl. So, I mean, lathe tools, you don't need, this is the lathe tool I use the most. I mean, this is I use my Thompson wood turning tools. This is my 3/4 inch bowl gouge. I use this probably 80% of the time. This is my favorite tool. It was about this long, but I use it so much. I've had this for 7, 8 years now. Very expensive tool, but like I said, it's outlast. You can buy the cheaper ones, and like I don't want to say the name, but there's cheaper ones you can buy that you'll buy nice or buy twice. So I bought nice, and the other tools, I just kind of quit buying them because they don't last. So save the money up front, but it costs you on the backside. So all my different wood turning tools, and if you want to get into wood pen turning, you want to start making pins, it's a different set of tools. If you're doing a pin turning, you're going to want to get into, you have to buy the smaller little tools, you know, for getting in the details of the wood. So you can't use that big one on something delicate. So if I'm doing something small, I have to buy a set of wood turning tools. I got lucky and found that set at a garage at an auction, so I saved a couple bucks. But yeah, this is the primary section of the wood turning area. Up above the lathe, I have some cabinet space. This has got different sandpapers, different oils, waxes, finishes in there. Up above it, I've got all my sandpaper grits. So everything from, I think there's some 60 grit all the way up to 320 grit for getting those good finishes. Another thing, I used to buy cheap sandpaper, and it got to the point where I realized, man, this sandpaper just doesn't last. You do a board and you got to throw it away. So this sandpaper is twice as much as the stuff you're going to buy at Harbor Freight, but it lasts 5 times longer. You can use it more. You're not going through as much. So then I've got other things up there. I got this different lathe tools. I have an iron up there. Iron is good for if you have a dent in your wood. You can actually take a wet paper towel or wet towel, put the iron over it, steam it out, or I use it for edge banding. So got an iron in there. Don't tell my wife her iron's out here. Biscuits, miscellaneous tools are up here. So yeah, a lot of just more wood turning stuff and other tools and jigs. This was a cabinet that was in my garage. I took it over here. I wish I had more. There's a section in my house where we remodel with the cabinet. Probably bring that cabinet out here and just extend this beyond here. So more storage. Moving along from that storage, I have my my drill station. I made that probably 15 years ago. It had a nice spot in the top for the charger, some slots there for the for the batteries and the drills will go below. Those drills, I made that 15 years ago plus when I lived in Mentor. It was a great little spot, but those drills burned up. They changed the style of the drills. They changed the style of the batteries. It doesn't work anymore. So that is a project I need to do to upgrade my drill station. Yeah. That's a great project for anyone getting into woodworking, because most woodworkers are going to have at least 2 drills. You'll find when you do a lot of woodworking or even home projects, if you're going from drilling to screwing, be able to have one drill it, grab the other drill and screw it, so they're going back and forth with the bits. I always recommend, that's why you see drills a lot of time are being sold in sets. So, so that's my plan to build a new one of those. Right next to that is some hand tools. I got inside here, I've got some different squares, different tools. I got my marking gauges, I have my spoke shaves, draw knife. I got some French curves in there for laying out lots of lines. Hand planes are in here. All different types of marking tools are in here. I also have in here, if you can see it, so this is all different. This is my, some chisels are in here, all different sizes, everything from just plain Jane straight chisels. These chisels here are chisels you don't need, but you're going to have, if you use them, these are great for going in tight angles that you can't get an angle in, so you can go in kind of an angle. Another tool you don't need, but you're going to be glad you have. Once again, a draw knife. When I'm debarking something on a live edge board, I need to pull the bark off. This has a really nice edge on it that I sharpen on the Tormek. That works great. And then on the outside of it, I got some clamps just laying around, and these are corner chisels. These are great for when you really need to get somewhere tight in a nice vertical corner. So, and then to move around, the next thing over is my Jet spindle sander. So this just is a round, or just a round piece that's round. It spins, obviously it goes up and down, it oscillates up and down. This is great for getting, it has different size spindles. This is great for getting in those nice tight radiuses. Before, what I do is I put it into the bench vise, and I would just take a piece of sandpaper and work it back and forth. This is another tool. You don't need it, but you're glad you have it when you have it. They have, like I mentioned before, they have the Rigid brand. It's a belt sander, a spindle sander combined. A couple $100, well worth it. This is just an upgrade. This has a little bit more power. Has really good dust collection, so this is hooked up to a dust collector. And you can't tell it now because last time I used it, it wasn't hooked up. But yeah, so this is my oscillating sander. This actually is going to get changed. This is going to get slid over, and I have a big round sander that I'm going to mount here. That's in the shop. I got to get it over here and reconfigure this whole thing just to add to it. It's a tool, one of those tools I don't need a lot, but I do have space for it. So I'm going to bring it over here. Kind of work between the big edge sander, this sander, and that round disc sander. I'm good on sanding devices. So and then here next to it, I just got, so it's kind of like my staging area. Here's some cutting boards that are done. Here's one with some bullets in it. A couple of the big hole boards I was out of. These are going to be a stock inventory this year. The big hole cutting boards, and then another serving board. These are all done. These are ready to go over to the laser engraver. And then they come back over here to be finished. And then below here is just some tools, a couple projects I'm working on, and then nuts and bolts and screws storage. So in the middle of my shop, now we've covered the whole perimeter. In the middle of the shop is my workbench. My buddy Damien and I made this about 7 years ago. A good friend of mine, Tommy, had some hard maple. He bought it at an auction, didn't want to give it to me. This is all individual pieces of maple. I think this is like 4 inches thick. Got a vise on one side and the other. It's got dog holes in the middle. Super heavy, super sturdy. This is another project. If you're looking for a good shop project to help you hone your skills, build you a good workbench. Like I said, I got a vise down there and a vise here for different applications. And then the dog holes are great for clamping things down. If I'm doing something that's kind of slippery, usually I put down a sanding mat that helps hold things down, but then using the dog holes really works great. And then down below here is some of my Festool. Any of the tools I use regularly are like my sanding station right here. Those are the sanders I use all the time, so I just constantly switching back and forth. Down below here, I have my different routers and jigsaws. Tools I use regularly, but not enough to have out. The nice thing about the Festool system is how well they stack and they store. Festool is by far the best hand tool company out there. The only complaint you'll ever hear about Festool tools is the cost. But I've got Festool, like Festool sander I've had for 10 years and it still goes. It was like $700, but compared to the $150 for the cheap ones you're gonna buy 2 a year, that one's paid for itself. So this is all hard maple. My plan is to, in the new shop, actually widen this, add to it. I have an idea on how I can add probably another 4 to 6 inches on either side. This is great size for my shop. This is a great shop for anybody's shop. So either going to add to this or push it against the wall and make another one. I haven't decided yet, but a good quality workbench is a must at any shop. Heavy. You can use softer woods, but the key thing is to make sure it's heavy. I can put some wood on here and I can take my hand plane and really crank on it back before the floor was rotting out and really get stuff going. But this is a great workbench. All mortise and tenon. There's no bolts and there's no only screws are out or what's holding on the vise. But as far as all the joinery, where the leg comes up there and meets it, it's all mortise and tenon joinery, no screws, which really helps ensure. People put too much reliability on screws. So very dense, very heavy. It takes a couple of us to move it. When we move this next weekend, we're getting ready to redo the flooring here, and this has to get moved over. It's a hernia for sure. We're going to unload everything off of it. So a good quality workbench, and of course I put the logo in there. There's a video on my YouTube page, me doing that with the Shaper Origin. Good quality workbench. People always ask me, what is one of the things you need to, what's one of the first real tools I should buy? I'm ready to take up my woodworking to the next level. I'm ready to spend some money. What should I buy? And I always say the same thing. Spend the money on a good quality table saw. Something's got a good motor. This is a Jet. It has, I think, a 3 horsepower motor. I've had this for 10 years, over 10, 12 years now. If you ever see me in person, I have a really good story who I bought this from. But yeah, this is a Jet. I've had this. This has never had to give me any problems. I maintain it pretty well. Cast iron bed, really good fence. The fence is fully adjustable, so you can check it, make sure it's square. I have a company that's near me, Cleveland Tool, that sharpens all my blades for me. I've made the inserts inside here. I've got a handful. It's got all. I think it goes up to 3 inches. It has all the angles you can cut. Great table saw. And then as you work down here, this also I can plug. It's plugged into the dust collection. So when I'm using this tool, hit that blast gate, and it keeps the dust out of there. This creates a lot of dust. And then next to it is, over here, is it has a wing on it, and it has a router table. Someday I'm hoping to have an actual router, a separate router station, but this router table is it's just a router that I had. It's also hooked up to dust collection, adjustable fence. The problem is, with this kind of setup, this turns into storage a lot of times. So you don't realize that you'll be working one day and you come back and shop the next day, there's a big pile of stuff here. You didn't realize how fast it fills up. But this fence goes all the way down and up to, I think, a 48-inch wide board. And then it's, as long as you keep it clean, I put furniture wax on the cast iron, helps the board slide across, helps my jigs. I have a crosscut sled and a panel sled that fits in here. I have a whole bunch of jigs I've made for the table saw. So people, like I said, people ask me, where should I spend my money at? Spend your money on a good quality table saw. Now there's some good, home weekender kind of, the kind that just pop up, which is what I started with. I had a rigid pop-up table saw I used for years. But when you start cutting hard maple, oak, and these really dense Padukes and Purple Hearts, it doesn't matter how sharp your blade is, you need a motor that can push it. So when you start getting serious in the woodworking, if you start buying those cheap table saws and you want to get serious, you want to start making cutting boards, you're going to burn it up, I guarantee it. It happens all the time. Spend the money, buy a quality table saw when you're ready. Don't ever buy a tool and go into debt. What I did, all this stuff I built over, Cleveland Cutting Boards have been in business for 10 years. I've been woodworking for 10 years before that. So for the first few years I was in business, I make money, save money, spend money on the shop. It wasn't until a few years ago I actually started making money. So you can get into a good table saw. They have the SawStop brand, which I'd like to add to the collection. Someday I'll have this one and a SawStop. SawStop's the one, if your finger it senses your skin, it'll retract. Everyone thought they were a joke, but now they're the #1 selling table saw out there. I've had this one sewed on once already, so if this one ever goes bad, I'll definitely buy that, but someday I'll have this one and one. I want to use this as a dedicated dado stack saw, and then then you set up my SawStop as my regular single blade saw. So good quality table saw. And then next to it is, below, on the other half, below that is I've had this toolbox for, I since the Marine Corps, so 30 years I've had this toolbox. A good the old school Craftsman toolbox. Yours, and that's full of table saw accessories. There is, there's some feather boards in there, some jigs in there, the tools for changing the blades, and a bunch of other stuff that just found its way in there. So a good quality table saw is a must. So lumber storage up here in my loft, the mezzanine it's a loft, I'd say. Up here, I have some land. So I have 4 primary areas I store lumber at on the property. So up here, what I did is I had Megan, a couple weeks ago, she went through, this is all chalkboard paint. So as material comes in, we put it up there, which is it's a shoulder workout, and then you write down what it is. So everything from sapele, walnut, teaks, more sapele, different thicknesses. So it's right there, quick access. And then eventually on the far end over there, I have, you kind of see, whoa, over there, it's just miscellaneous crap. A lot of stuff that was here when I bought the house. There's a little more miscellaneous up here. I need to get through and get cleaned up. So yeah, so that's one storage area. Up here's a storage area. This is all mahogany. So that's primarily my mahogany storage. It's up there. It's a light wood. It's easy to get up there. I found out it's really important to take the time and separate that stuff. So that's all mahogany up there. And then up here is 3 rows. This goes all the way to the very peak. This is 3 rows. Primarily what's up there, the bottom row right there is the higher end woods. That's Padauk. There's some Padauk up there. There's purple heart up there. There's wingay up there. There's yellow heart up there. The higher end woods, I don't really use a lot, but they're right there when I need them. Above that, I have some really wide live edge boards. So I think there's like a 16-inch wide live edge oak up there. There's a couple pieces of wide oak or wide live edge hickory. I don't like hickory, so it's up there because I don't get too much. And above that is just some more shorter lengths of way up there is some wide edge 4/4 walnut. Boards I don't use a lot. I don't want to cut that up into smaller pieces. I want to try and keep it whole, like for a nice countertop or a tabletop or something like that. So it's up there. That's wood I don't use a lot, but I have it. So I have a mental idea what's up there. Every now and then I'll get there and look through it. But once again, that's just rare. It's the wood I don't use as much. That's really nice. I don't want to get in the way that I don't need to get to. Because getting up there, so that's, I don't know, 16 feet. So I get there in the ladder, and my ladder's, you get to the second to last run, and it's kind of wobbly. So yeah, it's up there. So just more storage. I also have 2 more storage. I have a storage unit off property that's got all my really big stuff, all my kiln dried walnut and oak, that really thick stuff I use for specialty projects. That's in town over there. And one last thing I forgot to mention was my air cleaner. This is a Win. I had the Jet, it burned up after 2 years. I've had this one for 5. It was half the price, exact same thing. Basically it sucks air into this side, blows it out that side clean. It's a tool that I didn't think I wanted to waste the money on when I first started woodworking, and I realized I need it. So yeah, so basically it's got an air filter right here. These aren't cheap, but you can blow them out. So I think I go through probably one every 6 months. I take it outside. It just pops off right here. Take it outside, blow it off with the air compressor, and then go back up. The rule is when you walk in the shop, you turn on the air cleaner. So I'm probably going to invest in another one. I've got one over in the other building. I've got one I have one in every building, but I'm probably going to put another one in here somewhere over my station where I do most of my work at. So that's it for the Cleveland Cutting Board shop tour. As I'm standing here, I'm looking around. There's a couple more things I didn't even think about. There's some more storage over there for my different festival track saws. What else I just, oh, my wall of shame, I call it. So when I do a sign or a project I screw up, you know, for example, established, we forget to put the B in the sign. You sign you've been working on for days and you don't spell established right, and you forget the B, it says established. It goes on the wall of shame. So instead of throwing those things in a fire pit, I throw it on the wall, kind of remind myself to pay attention. And all the little nicks and crannies. I could spend all day out here talking about different things. But that's it. We're going to do this in 2 parts. This is part 1. The other part will be, the other half of the tour will be where the laser and the small CNC is. That's one building, and then the big CNC is in another building. So we're going to combine those in a separate video. I can spend all day talking about all the different tools. Maybe we'll start picking a tool a month and talk about that tool. I don't know, see what I have time for. As this is my slow season right now. So I do have projects. I got work to keep me busy through the spring, but this is something I've been promising I was going to do for a long time, and I haven't done it yet. Because I kept thinking, let me get the shop spotless for the tour. Not going to happen. There's also another building I'm thinking about. There's 2 more buildings behind this. A little plastic storage shed that's got tools I hardly ever use, and that's full of off-cut lumber too. So maybe I'll do a little sneak peek of that in the next video. So hope everyone have a great time. If you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment down below. And keep your smartass remarks to yourself. I don't want to hear it. I'm not going to answer them. I'm going to ignore them and delete them. So if you have any legit questions, feel free to ask. That's it.